Today is all about earthquakes. In particular, how do we talk about the intensity of an earthquake? Traditionally, we hear about the Richter scale. You get one number and it tells how strong or how weak that particular earthquake was. But this is another model. This is called the modified Mercalli intensity scale. What this one's going to do is it's based on actual observations. So let's see what we can do with this modified Mercalli information. So again, the modified Mercalli is based on physical damage and also recording observations of people that are in the area that's affected by this earthquake. Now, based on their observations, now over on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see a big long list that talks about, okay, these are the observations that people felt, and so this is what intensity rating we will give that particular observation. Now, these are going to range anywhere from 1 to 12, and they use Roman numerals to be able to identify those different numbers. So what your job is going to be is to go through hypothetical observations from these people in this imaginary town and figure out what intensity was felt at each location. Then what you do is you can connect similar intensities to draw what are called isoseismal lines. That means that the seismic activity is similar in those particular areas. And from that, we can try to learn about where the epicenter was for that particular earthquake, because that's generally where most of the damage is being seen. So let's do a quick example for you. Now, there should be two different documents that are attached to the lab. One of the documents is this map that you have on the left-hand side. This is Rattlesburg Valley. Now, Rattlesburg Valley has a tendency to have earthquakes. I mean, it's named Rattlesburg. The other document that you have gives a little bit of background about what is meant by the modified Mercalli scale. It has all of the observations that you're going to talk about trying to figure out what they are. And then it also has some further instructions and a couple of other questions for you to answer. So be sure to go back to that document and see what other questions you have. Now for this one, here we have our Rattlesburg Valley. And if you notice, there's all of these little letters on Rattlesburg Valley. Each of those is the location of a report that was given. Now we're going together to go over letter G, and letter G is right kind of here in the center. Now, what letter G says is the Very Reverend Father Tim reported that the bells of St. Bartholomew of the Valley rang for several minutes, and the chimney at the rectory had fallen into Mrs. Dillingham's strawberry patch. So what I did is I went back to the previous slide that we had that has the intensity scale that's actually in that document that has all the observations. The last page is the scale. And so I'm going to read through, here's my scale. I'm going to read through them until I find something that is described by this person's observation. So if you go down to number 7, 7 says, very difficult to stand, large bells such as at a church or school ring, damage negligible in buildings of good design and construction, slight to moderate and well-built ordinary structures, considerable damage in poorly built or badly designed structures. And then it says, some chimneys broken. So I'm going to say that this was probably had the intensity of a 7. Now, could you say it was something else? Yeah, depending on how you read it and the prediction that you make or the connection that you make, maybe you think it's a little stronger than that. I'm going to go with a 7 because this one talks about the bells and then it also has a chimney broken. But he doesn't talk about any real damage to the school or the church after that. It was just mainly the chimney fell and the church bells rang. So I'm going to say it's a 7. Now let's see what we're going to do with that. All right, so here's my Rattlesburg Valley. Here's letter G right here. And I'm going to say this is a 7. So I'm going to write my Roman numeral 7 right here. Now I'm going to do that for all of the different observations. Then what you can do is you can start seeing if there is here somewhere in the center or somewhere, wherever it might be, there should be several that are concentrated that are a pretty high number, say probably like a 10, 11, or a 12. And so let's say I had a bunch of 12s right here. Of course, they're not. There's not even observation right here, but you'll get the idea. So then I'm going to draw a line around those. And inside that line are all the 12s. Now outside that, you start to see some 11s. So then I have another line drawn, and this is going to be all of the 11s. And then I'm going to include the 10s. And so you're going to see, it looks like the contours of a land or something like that. You're going to see these ever increasing size circles being made. And that's what we mean by the isoseismal lines. The center of it is going to be where the epicenter was. And again, this isn't necessarily where the epicenter was for this example. This has just happened to be where I drew it. But the lines will keep getting, the circles will keep getting larger time and time again. And so from this, you can answer the questions that are included in the lab. Good luck.